Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aiman, and me with my partner Wan, we're going to present to you our paper, which is Blind Nationalism Sentiment, a social cognitive approach to social media comments, responding to Al Jazeera's documentary on Malaysia's lockdown and the immigrants involved. So here's the basic outline of our presentation and the basic outline to our paper. We begin with the introduction, moving to the research questions, our approach, highlighting social media as a genre, the analysis, and finally the conclusion. So to begin with, we first have to see our topic and its introduction, being that on July 3rd, Al Jazeera released a documentary through its YouTube channel titled Locked Up in Malaysia's Lockdown under its 101 East show. Now, through social media, a few days later, Malaysian netizens were made aware of it and its contents. A good majority, or at least the most vocal voices among the social comments, were of nationalists and even crossing xenophobic and racist lines. So this research shows the underlying narrative of a part of Malaysian society whereby there exist strong nationalistic and xenophobic elements under the guise of patriotism by taking offense over Al Jazeera's documentation of the detention of immigrant workers during the coronavirus lockdown process. So our research questions are trying to ask what are the explicit linguistic elements used in the comments in engaging with Al Jazeera's documentary, what are the implicit and underlying tones of such comments, and also how a shared societal belief structure translates into those comments. So we chose SCA as our basis for analysis because the comment sections are a communal space where social discourse happens, and socio-cognitive approach relies on three things: ideological polarization, socially shared mental models, and ethnic domination, which we will see later. The focus is set on attitudes, ideologies, set knowledge, structures such as semiotic, discursive, and cognitive, and macro and micro elements of the social component, as well as the ideological structures. Social media as a genre, social media has come to blur the line between creators and the receivers. It's often straightforward, simple, and personal, and it has the ability to filter information and gather people with common interests to engage, whether it be on the positive or the negative. And the nature of social media is that it's always focusing on the trending and what is now. And it also helps create some subcultures, which we learn to appreciate and acknowledge, which is cancel culture and keyboard warriors as such, and transition of the clickbait from traditional media to social media as well. So moving on to my partner Wan.
Okay, as we all know, SCA approach have three major components. So first component is analysis of discursive and semiotic structure. Next is cognitive structures, and last is communicative interactions. So for the first part, we can see the producers of the post is local IM students who prompts an argument on the recent issue of Al Jazeera versus Malaysia. Okay, next, we move on to the linguistic analysis. We can see the phrase Honorable Malaysian Army is a figurative language through sarcastic remark. So there is a Malay term, Malay term gang bawang or bawangians is a popular Malaysian term that refers to keyboard warriors. So this use of sarcastic remark provoke a quick reaction among Malay students and IM and international students. So next, so we can see the first comment is from a local student. So we can translate the comment into every country has their own issue with discrimination of foreigners. So this comment is a generalization of Al Jazeera, generalization that refers to Al Jazeera bias in criticizing Malaysian discrimination. So this generalization is a form of two-quote fallacy. To instead of referring or addressing to the problem, he chooses to address the accuser instead. So we can see the replies. International students use comparison through simile. So he compares the Malaysian detention centers to animal shelters. So he compares the worst condition. So next, we can see the following replies. So the local students reply in Malay language. This form of behavior, we can see a racist behavior because he chooses to believe that international students cannot understand any comments in Malay. So next. Okay, next we can see the use of emotive language through rhetorical statements. So this form of language use is to mock the validity of someone's statement based on their race. Okay, he also uses the term Bangla to refer Bangladeshi respondent of the video. So this term is a derogatory remark that refers to illegal immigrant of Bangladeshi descent. Yeah, he also used a curse word. So this curse word, we can say it is an adverb of degree to show the intensity of the problematic attitudes. So next, we can see the comment is from Malay students. Malay student, he uses parallelism, which is a grammatical repetition to echo the logical statement. So he believed that if someone should not complain or say anything towards a person who helps them so much. So this kind of logical statement is a fallacy of straw man. So he chooses to misdirect the problem and address the superficiality instead of the actual issues. Okay, so we move on to the cognitive structures. So social media is an enabler of populism. It means that everyone can say anything in social media. So a Malaysian citizen believe that Al Jazeera chooses bias to report in these discriminations. So we can see the dichotomy of us versus them, which is Al Jazeera versus Malaysian netizens. So this raises the question of blind nationalism or legitimate sedition attempt by Al Jazeera. So we can see historically, Malaysia is not free from any accuse of human rights violation. Historically, Malaysia has reported there is human rights violation in their detention centers. So this also raises the question, is illegal immigrants a human too? So why don't they deserve a treatment of a normal human beings? So next is communicative interaction. We can see the setting is now, the participant is Malaysia, criminals, which is illegal immigrants, and Al Jazeera. So next, we can see the emotion foregrounded, disgust, rage, and anger. So we can, so last but not least, the microstructure of this post, this FB post is a private post among IM community. It plays with the politics of nationality and politics of morality. So it is effective to trigger emotion because of the nature of IM itself as an international university. So that's all for me.
So in conclusion, based on the small example that we've given, the response towards Al Jazeera's documentary through the multitude of social media comments is a narrative which is hostile to the claims of Al Jazeera. The comment sections of social media, for example, Facebook in particular, which we have shown, shows a strong underlying ideology of xenophobia and nationalism. So the comments analyzed show proper social discourse with elements of linguistic structures pertaining to existing socio-cultural knowledge and social attitudes towards labor immigration, specifically to those from Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Indonesia within the context of immigration in Malaysia. So thank you.
Thank you.